Right. Just a sec. Okay, we are live. Welcome to our 8th Gno.land community developer call. I've shared with you guys the agenda. So we have a new team member, John. I think you're here.
Hello.
Hey, so just for everyone that may watch the video and for everyone here, John is joining the Gno.land team as a DevRel. So welcome. We usually introduce new team members and community members at the beginning. Okay, so moving on to a short contributor updates. On Block, do you want to kick things off with what's going on for you guys?
Yeah, sure. I just got a couple of quick updates. The first
Do you
one
need
being
to screen share?
it's all good. Yeah, it's gonna be a couple simple ones. And so the first one is we've actually open sourced Gno.scan, the block explorer, and I'm actually gonna drop the link in chat for anyone who's interested in contributing. So here's the link. So yeah, check out the code and contribute if you're interested. And the second one is that we've actually posted a recap blog post for all the events that happened last week, which are ETH Seoul, Bill Asia, and Getting to Know. So for those of you guys at home who couldn't come to Korea, make sure to check it out. I'm also going to drop the link in chat. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay, moving on quickly. Territory, do you want to give an update on your journey?
Yeah, why not? Hi, all. Last week we merged the organization deployer on Territory alpha version. So now I don't know if you you can go on app.territory.com. So this DAO deployer is only on Cosmosm, but at the same time we started to build DAO standards, and you can see on the journey. I will put the link in the chat. We started 2 different DAO standards, and we also integrated Adena, of course. Adena wallet is can be used now in Territory DApp. And the last thing is we also integrated the Air users and try to make it like really identified. So we add the .gno at the end of the nickname for people that can use Territory DApp. And yeah, many little things also, but not important here.
Yeah, and you guys will also be working on the DAO deployer?
Basically, we are working on 2 things. The first thing is Gno DAO deployer, and to be able to create the moderation DAO. So we'll create various standards, and the specific one which will be useful for social feeds, forums, and yeah, basically social moderations, etc.
Cool. You guys can, this is also a GitHub issue that you can follow along. I think from the No IDE side, we don't have, I think Ilker was not able to join today. So shall we move on to no team topics? The first one was the release from Milos and Antonio. No by example.
Oh, wait, is that my cue?
Yeah, that's your cue.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we launched, I wouldn't say it's a website, it's it's basically an app. If you ever use Solidity by example, it's very similar to that. It's called Gno by example, and it contains like little tutorials and code snippets that help you learn Gno.land. It's actually meant to be completely community run. So it's basically a front end app, but the tutorials themselves are complete markdown. And there's a specific like markdown syntax that we added where you can embed like certain file fragments, parts of files and stuff like that, just so you can make your tutorials a bit more structured. And yeah, you can check out like the official website that Michelle linked, and we have the repo linked as well on the website. And if you want to contribute, feel free. We're looking for like new tutorials, new sections and stuff like that. You'll see when you open the website. But yeah, this was actually not like a sole core team effort. It was a cross team effort between us and the IDE team. Ida, who is working as the designer for the IDE team, has been gracious enough to give us his time and actually design everything. So everything you see is actually from his imagination. But yeah, check it out and leave comments, and the repo is completely open, and yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I kind of talked through all that we have, but I'll just move on through the list of agenda topics, and if you guys can grab them. So I
want to ask a question there.
Sure.
Really quick.
Jay.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, it's really cool. Know by example. When should we? Is it ready for us to start sharing? Like, I guess it would make sense to start sharing now, especially to get more people to add examples. I guess. Right? So, what's the plan for how to roll this out?
Yeah. So the base website is completely ready. Basically, I think we're only waiting for socials by Johnny, and that's pretty much the only point when we go public. But everything else is ready and in place.
Very cool. Thank you.
Okay. The next one was a feedback on, I think this is, I think Dong-Wan, if you're on the call. It's the block, it came from our last call 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the testnet 3 / moving to testnet 4. It was the block data sync. Issue 863. I don't know if this was something that you were interested in highlighting.
Yeah, sure. So this is our experience of running the full node on testnet 3 for the block data for Adena and GNOSkin. And I know there are some ongoing PRs regarding the multi-validator 871 and 889. So hopefully this issue will be helpful for the ongoing discussions of the multi-validator. Yeah.
Okay, which actually leads us right into the testnet 4 update and the multi-node experience.
Just to give more context, so we will soon release the testnet 4, but there was a question about should we make the testnet 4 multi-node or keep it as a single node, and the two options are still in consideration, but what I propose is to keep the testnet for a single node focused on the language, while we have a dedicated net for multi-nodes, where we can ask people to maybe coordinate and do whatever they want to test the performance, to test whatever they need. So yeah, I suggest having 2 test nets, one for the language and one for tenor into 2, for consensus, for peer-to-peer, etc. There is still an option to say we have a single test net and it's multi-node, but maybe it makes sense to give more flexibility for people caring about validation, so they can do whatever they want. They can reset, they can, yeah, it's more liberty for them. And the main question was, okay, but on GNOScan, you complain about having some delay to just have all the information. And the goal was to say, even if we limit test 3 to be a single node, a single node in the validator set, we should still make it possible to have full node synchronizing the blockchain in real time. So the issue here by Dongwon is more to give his feedback, because I think we may have issues on making it possible to run a full node and have good data, keep the synchronization always on, never have conflicts or differences. So I ask Jay, since you are here, to look at the feedback from Dongwon, the PR 863, no? Yeah, 863, because I think we have an issue, not in terms of 10 into 2 or whatever, but about, not in terms of multi-node test nets, but in terms of just having a full node staying in sync with a mainnet, with an official node from the testnet. So we need to fix this to allow anyone to have a full node that is stable and reliable, while there is another topic, the other issue, considering to make an environment where anyone, so it can be contributors, developers, or maybe validators, joining a discussion, they have their chat, they have their repos, they have their configurations, they have whatever they need, and they're autonomous to just push 10 into 2 and multi-node Gno.land at its limit. So TLDR is maybe we have issues with full nodes and we need more eyes to check this, because it's a huge bug if that's the case. And second is about, should we have a single testnet, or does it make sense to have a testnet managed by people concerned? For instance, I don't care that much at the moment about multi-node testnets. So ideally, I would love to allow anyone to do it, but autonomously. So I can focus on the language, the tooling, the examples. That's why I suggest just splitting the one testnet into 2 with 2 different goals.
So I'll start taking a look at 863.
Yeah.
Is the problem related to, is the specific problem about the need to poll because the block times are unpredictable?
Not sure, because I had this question multiple times. I think that the block time is unpredictable, and sometimes it can be very, very, very slow.
There should be, so there's a setting, it's called empty blocks. Yeah. And basically, this should be the case right now, that if there are no transactions, and I think there's a timeout too, so periodically it does make blocks really slowly. But it's not generating blocks because there's no transactions to run.
Yeah.
So we can either turn that feature off. It's a setting in the config.
Yeah. Create empty blocks equal false in Gno.land/main.go.
Yeah. So if we just set that to true, it'll it would certainly simulate a long-term environment where everyone's running the chain. So in the long run, it'll work fine. We can probably just turn that to true. We'll have more blocks, but it'll be simulating an unrealistic environment anyways. So that's one way to solve it pretty easily.
So in general, Jay, you self-assign on this issue. The main goal is, do we allow right now to have just full nodes? Because the question from Dongwon was, can we be in the validator set? And it was not just to be in the validator set, but just to be synchronized. So both make sense, but having stable full node is clearly very, it's a bug. We need to have it.
Yeah. Well, let's. I think it's safe to, for now, just focus on a single node, and meanwhile, take a look at 863 to see what's up. There won't be many issues where things start failing because we have multiple machines. multiple nodes. So let's yeah. So let's go with that option for now. That's my suggestion.
And yes, so you replied about it makes sense to keep a single node, but anyway, I suggest, because people are asking to test multi-nodes, and it's actually possible. So we have basically two options. One, we don't have an official multi-node testnet, and people can do whatever they want on their side. Or we just isolate this testing initiative. So maybe we can create a subfolder, a dedicated issue to discuss this. And at the end, we just, we let people concerned on block. Maybe people from the core team are concerned by this. As soon as, test 3, test 4, stay single node and focus on the language and discovery. So do you prefer to just say, we don't care at the moment and do whatever you want on the side as a community initiative? Or do you think it makes sense to keep this initiative semi-official by having a dedicated issues or folder or whatever, so people can just register the validator?
To register their validator.
Yeah, I opened the issue proposing to create the R validator and hook R validator updates on the validator set definition in Tendermint 2, because I wanted to create just another testnet where we have an admin key and people can just, I don't know, I let it to unblock or whoever wants to lead this initiative, and they can just add new people. Right now, what we can do is maybe in a subfolder in tool/deployment/multinet, something like this, people can just patch the Genesis and self-register their validator. I don't know much
on like test 3 or on staging
on a dedicated one. I think we should be dedicated to this.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea for now. Maybe like test 4, test 5. It could be, we can incorporate some of that, and yeah, that's a great idea. I'm still confused though about what would constitute a bug. I'm reading 683, and it's about big issues about polling versus, but it's not. It doesn't seem like a multi-node issue per se. Like it's not a bug per se.
I'm not sure
we have a lack of a feature.
I'm not sure we have a bug at the end, but here, but basically either there is a bug or maybe Unblock is using a method which is not the best one for this use case. But at the end, they have two cases. Either they are very outdated with a huge delay, or they can have conflicts or lose the connection. So I don't remember if Gno.land shared all the attempts, but right now he tried multiple ways to synchronize the data and he never found a solution to which is reliable and fast. So maybe there is no bug. Maybe he's just using the bad API. I don't know.
Well, they're here. I guess the question is like, I mean, if we set empty blocks to true, it will start generating empty blocks. But the block time would still be like 6 seconds, 7 seconds, like the Cosmos hub. So there would still be essentially the same issue because blocks are only created every 6-7 seconds at most. So it seems like the problem of that Unblock is running into is sort of innate, right? It sounds like what's being said here is that there's a local database where transactions and effects kind of have to be queued up until the next block comes. Is that right? Am I understanding this right?
I use that one. I see Andrew is there, but no, no one is there.
Okay, well, all right. So I'll just ask here on the comments. Thank you.
Do you have more details, Gno.land, on this? What's your synchronization strategy, and what is the problem in the current situation?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem was that the block generation time is unpredictable, so that we have to periodically request the RPC call. But as Jim mentioned, if you can predict the block generation time, then maybe we can fix this issue.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, so if we set empty blocks to true, that should fix the issue, and the block time should be predictable. It's just a bit confused because under the main problems, yeah, under main problems, number 1, it describes what we just talked about, more or less. But then the sub bullet point says, if timing is not right, the transaction created now will be accumulated. Okay, so I guess, all right. So the problem only exists in the on-block code if the timing is not right. Okay, got it.
Yes,
Yeah, just set empty blocks to true. Yeah, that'll fix the problem.
Okay, thank you.
But that won't fix it in general, right? So it'll okay. It's more like a band-aid, because other blockchains might want to choose the empty blocks false option because they have much less transaction throughput. So,
And what about
in that case, the best way to know when a block appears is to subscribe to the WebSocket events. It might be disconnected right now, but are you able to use WebSockets?
No, I think we there was no WebSocket available, so we had to use the RPC code.
Right. Okay.
It'd be nice if we have the WebSocket function.
Right. So we should do that. We should work on re-enabling WebSockets. The reason why it was removed, it's only temporary. It's only because the previous WebSocket implementation relied on, I think it relied on PubSub or something. I forget the reason why it was removed, but I'm pretty sure that's it. So we just have to implement a different, just something slightly different there. I'll make an issue about it. That's what I'll do. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Can you check the chat?
Thank you.
Because can check the chat because yeah, the Gno web client is opening a WebSocket client.
Sorry, 1 second.
This is the way Gno web makes requests.
Okay, so the WebSockets are working. Okay.
So yeah, let's try this long one. Maybe you should have something that should survive for a longer time without timeouting. And then you get notified each time a new event is happening.
Okay, thank you. We'll try that.
And yeah, feel free to continue on this on your issue with either feedback or bugs or whatever that makes sense. And about enabling create empty block. If we just enable create empty block, but with a very, very slow timeout, like 1 hour, is it better than having 7 seconds? What do you think, Jay, about having something here very slow?
How many seconds? What?
1 hour instead of just 7 seconds. Is it better to have no create empty block or create empty block with 1 hour, or is only create empty block
Oh,
at
no,
7
no.
something that makes sense?
You don't want 1 hour. If you set create empty block true, and then you set the block time to be an hour, then you will only get blocks once every hour. So we don't want to set the block time to 1 hour.
Oh,
There's
okay.
another.
It's not.
There should be another. Yeah, what's it called again? What's the full name of that?
Create empty block. It's in the Gno.land/main.go, and yeah, the name is create empty block timeout. So for me, it was not just the time block.
That's right. That's different. Right. So thank you. So for on block, if it helps, if it can help the UX to set a timeout for, when a block, basically setting the block time for when there are no transactions. Right? So it's generating empty blocks, but we can set the timeout to 1 hour. Then, in that case, empty blocks will be generated every hour. But maybe if we set that to like 30 seconds or a minute, maybe that at least makes the block time more predictable in the sense that it's going to come at least in the next minute. But it might be 7 seconds later if there was a transaction. So maybe that helps. I don't know how. I don't know the logic for what on block is created. But that is one option, but I'm imagining it probably doesn't help. I don't know. I don't know the answer because I don't know what's going on block's code, but maybe that does help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for me, we should try. What I'm not sure yet is I can try to maybe just update the staging configuration. We have an approval that it makes sense. Then I can try to just patch the current testnet 3. So starting now, it starts creating empty blocks. And then it's about checking if we can still have quick transactions and if the timeout is only for blocks without a single transaction, or if it's just the block time. If the block time is fast and we just have an exception for long period without any activity, I think it makes sense to enable it everywhere. But let's start with staging. I will ping you, Dongwon, when it's enabled on staging, so you can give a try.
Okay, thank you.
For your information, so for the multi-node testnet experimentation, I will use the hackerspace repo. So the repo where I like to have to allow more spam. I'm creating a subfolder multi-node testnet. It will contain a README, and soon it will contain maybe a Genesis file. And the goal is that anyone participating in the multi-node experimentation use this repo to share their script, their snippets, their I don't know Helm charts, whatever makes sense for deployment. So it's not the main repo. We won't review the quality. It's clearly a space where you can just share your snippets. And I clearly want multi-node testnet to be more a community initiative at the moment. Later, we'll have an official experimentation. But at the moment, it's more, please do it, especially for people only around the validation world, because many people are clearly only in this scope. So if anyone wants to show interest in this, look at the hackerspace repo later today. There will be a pull request and issue. And there are room for you to participate or even to kind of lead some experimentations. If you want to lead, I don't know, benchmark. If you want to update the way we manage the Genesis or whatever. So this is a quick way to get started with the goal later to have a thing linked to proof of contribution. So a validator set managed by contracts. But right now we don't care. It's clearly just a way to facilitate a community initiative. And if you don't know, because I'm not sure, Jay, you know this repo. Hackerspace is a repo I created so that tinkerers or ideas that are clearly not at all in the short-term roadmap, they have a place. So that's a kind of place where we can discuss more freely because we have less constraints in terms of quality. It's clearly an experimentation place. And yeah, so people can follow. We have an issue per tinkerer or partnerships. So we have an issue for Zach, for territory. Maybe on blog, it could make sense that sometimes you share some news or just a link to your blog post there. But yeah, Hackerspace is a free space for individual experimentations and collective experimentations. And the goal, yeah, it's not yet the case, but I want to prevent spam on the main repo. So as soon as you have an idea that will probably open many PRs, so this kind of thing about please patch the Genesis file to add your own validator. Actually, we don't want to have 400 new PRs with just people adding their personal keys and spam the main repo. So yeah, discover this repo and think about using it more for such topics. So the main repo stay clean and focused.
So Manfred, the testnet 3 will continue, and then testnet 4 will be a experimentation of a multi-node.
No, we will find a dedicated name, maybe multi-node.
Okay.
Multi-node testnet. It won't be with a number, and it won't have any security or promises in terms of keeping the content. Is clearly dedicated on multi-node experimentations, benchmarks, and edge cases, etc. Testnet 4 will happen, and it will be more focused on giving the next version of Gno. For instance, it will patch an issue we have with the bunker module.
Yeah.
It will probably, if we have new native types that require an upgrade of the chain, it will be probably on testnet 4. There are chances that we can make it on testnet 3, but yeah, the reason testnet 4 will happen is clearly to go to the next generation. For instance, a simple example is the current AVL package on testnet 3 does not match the one on GitHub. If you write something which is green on GitHub today, it won't work on testnet 3. So testnet 4 will happen soon. I will try to just include some important patches, but it will just be the next version with the next API of packages, realms, language, etc.
Actually, that was kind of the next thing on the agenda was the banker module.
Yeah.
I don't think that R3V4S is on this call. But it looked like he opened it up last week and it was related to the test 4. So I don't know if anyone else has seen it or looked at it, but I thought about mentioning it.
Yeah, so I just need to check because this is a new PR from an old discussion. So the TLDR of this bug is the bunker module was not scoping, filtering what you want to mint from a module. So it was, and it's possible on test 3 to mint whatever you want, including GNOT. And the simple solution we have is to say that, okay, let's keep everything like this, except that if a module, if a realm wants to mint something, okay, as soon as it's prefixed by the realm. So the r/something can mint r/something, semicolon, coin, semicolon, whatever you want. You can mint foo coin, bar coin, but prefixed and scoped to the realm. So it will fix the security issue and also allow anyone to not only create GRC20 smart contract-based coins, but native coins. So at the end, from the Tendermint2 API, you will have the GNOT native coin. Maybe one day we'll have a second native coin, I don't know. And you will have IBC coins prefixed by IBC something, and you will have realm coins prefixed by the realm. So just to make a distinction for people not necessarily aware of this, because we discussed a lot about GRC20 in the previous weeks. This is about native coins, the ones understood by the chain where the balance is managed by the chain. And yeah, the goal is to allow any realm to create its own tokens, but we need a prefix for security. So I will review it because the first time I see this PR completely. And yeah, right now we have a security issue on this point. Since we are not filtering with a prefix, any module can mint any tokens. And for people curious, because Gno.land is designed to mint 1 billion tokens once, and then we won't mint anything. But Gno VM is not designed to only run on Gno.land. There is an idea if we want to run the foo.land chain later, and you want to allow a contract to mint additional native tokens, it will be possible probably with a whitelist system. So any permissionless contract can mint coins prefixed by the contract, but you can maybe elect r/system/native coin minter, something managed by a DAO or whatever, that could mint additional native tokens. That's not the plan for Gno.land yet, but even if we add a prefix support, it's not impossible to imagine having a privileged contract to mint the native token too.
Okay. The next one is around the reason I added it. I don't think that we have an archer on the call. Not sure, but it's the event and emit in Gno. And I'm bringing it up because it was something that we had when we had a call with territory. And so I just wanted to highlight it if there was anything to discuss or update or.
I need to give a look too, but yes, territory is looking for an event system.
Yeah.
And yeah, the PR from Anarcher is based on discussion we had. We had one discussion a few weeks ago about adding log and emit support in the VM in the chain. And I'm checking emit event. Okay, so his goal here is to clearly make the ABCI event, so not the log one, but the emit one, the one that is catchable by other chains and stored forever. Where there is still the log alternative to do at some point, but this one won't be something that you can rely on for a long term. It's more something like if you are there, if you receive, if you are subscribed to the chain to WebSockets, you can receive the logs. And here it's an event, so probably what territory is looking for. So this is a huge feature that will require multiple reviews, including Jay's and mine's.
And also, I don't know, I guess territory, if you guys want to.
Yeah, about this, I was proposing this morning with other core team members that for each big enough partnerships we will have, so the grantee organizations, etc. I would love them to not only ask their questions, but start with a workshop where they expose the expected stack. Because if they come with, do you have this feature? Because we have it in Solidity or other languages, the answer will probably be yes, no, or no, but later. But if we understand why you need such feature, maybe we can also say, we don't have this feature, but maybe you can do this instead. And this instead is clearly not a part of a well-known feature on another ecosystem, but just another way to do the same, but Gno-ish. So let's say territory, we need to organize a workshop where you just discuss, and it's not about fixing a plan that won't change anymore. Just your tech team tell us what they think they will do, and when you have a requirement for a feature, it's always linked to something we understand. We need to understand the why. And John is there, so we have the first DevRel joining the team. One of the mission of DevRels will be to be always curious. And I would like the core team to be curious at least once for each important partnership. At least once we are curious about what you want to do and why. Then we can expect to reply better. And DevRels will probably have this expected curiosity just forever.
Okay, that sounds good. I can set up the workshop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and last thing we decided this morning with the core team is that thanks to feedback from territory and other people, we'll also write a FAQ, because those questions are clearly straightforward and obvious, and we will ask them a lot. So we'll also start having a FAQ based on, hey, do you have this feature? Not yet, but it's planned. And in the meantime, feel free to look at this and that other alternative.
Okay, so then I guess the 853 needs to be reviewed, and we can maybe talk about it next time. The item I have here, Jay, I don't know if you have some thoughts, but I put IBC updates.
I mean, we should we should start talking about that maybe once we have more smart contracts and everything else.
What would you like to see, I guess, with the IBC side?
Well, there's two things in IBC, right? One is sort of how it's exposed from smart contract, but we're not, even before we expose IBC to smart contracts, we will be supporting IBC for tokens. The problem is it is quite a bit of work to get, port IBC over to Tendermint 2 in Gno.land. So I think for now it would be better if we just focus on really, I guess, the whole stack up to the Gno VM, but especially more discussions on smart contracts in general as well. So I think we can do. There's just a lot we still have to do. So I don't think we should add IBC to the mix just yet.
Sounds good. There's quite a few others, so I'm moving through. The Howl. Do you want to give any update? I saw there was some discussion on the NoVM native binding issue we talked about. Just for context, everyone, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. Issue 859. Is there something that needs to be brought up, highlighted, talked about?
Can we go back?
Oh, sorry. Go, Jay.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is about WebSockets. Okay. Just briefly. Miloš, you said we are, okay. Someone said that we are already using WebSockets. What is using WebSockets?
The Gno Web. Gno Web is using WebSocket.
Gno Web, okay. But is it using Tendermint 2 WebSockets? I'm confused. How is it using WebSockets?
Let me check again. That's the link I just shared in the chat. Let me open it. I think the faucet is using it too. So basically, each time we wrote a Go client, we used WebSocket, maybe except for Gnoki. Maybe Gnoki is using RPC while Gno faucet.
Okay, so yeah. So here, this is what's going on here, and this is a bug in API. Maybe. So what I mean is, this new HTTP function that you link to, so you shared the link in the chat. It's the GNO web main.go file, line 371, and it calls client.new HTTP. And the second argument is WebSocket. But it's not actually using WebSocket. Yeah, it's only saying this is what the WebSocket entry point is called, right? But it's not actually used yet. because of the other thing I wrote in the chat. So really what that's doing is it's just using HTTP REST API. Yeah. So I'll just read this out for people who can't see the chat.
Are you sure? Because on TM2 PKG BFT node, we have a mux, and when it matches /WebSocket, it calls a WebSocket handler.
Okay, so right, which line in node.go?
709. I'm sharing the link. 709.
Right. So what that's doing?
So it's a mixer. So it receives, yeah, it just parses what's happening, and if it matches /WebSocket something, it calls the WebSocket handler.
Yeah. So what's going on is this is yeah, this is again, there's a bug here because we shouldn't be hard coding WebSocket in like this, or if we're going to hard code it in like this, with a constant, then we shouldn't have to pass it in to client.http. Anyways, forget all that. My point is what this is doing is this is the entry point. So WebSocket handler, what it does is it'll listen for people making clients that are making requests to /WebSocket, and then it'll upgrade the connection and turn it into a WebSocket connection. So that's its only job.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, there will be a WebSocket connection. However, the WebSocket doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything on the server side until we implement something like, oh, okay. So sorry, it's a little more complex than that. So let me gather my thoughts here. You're right. The WebSocket handler, it can be used. You're right. But there are two kind of. So here's what's going on. When you implement an RPC method or an RPC endpoint, as they are implemented in Tendermint 2 and RPC/core/events, or RPC/core/ all those things are they become available as HTTP RPC requests, but they are also available from WebSockets, right? So I was wrong, and you're right. We do support WebSockets. You can call any of the standard API functions that you can see when you go to port 36657 or 26657, and you can see all those RPC endpoints. Those are all available under WebSockets. However, those are all request response types, right? Because because HTTP RESTful APIs are generally, based on a request, and then there's a synchronous response. The WebSocket. So if we want to turn this into a poll system, which is kind of what Unblock was trying to get at, right? Unblock wants a poll system. The answer is we don't want to use HTTP RPC. Of course, there are ways to do pushing, right, over HTTP RESTful RPC, but like comment and those kinds of things. But forget all that. The right way is to subscribe to a WebSocket, connect a WebSocket client to Tendermint 2, and call a function like subscribe, which is implemented in the original Tendermint. And when you look at the implementation of the subscribe function, you'll see that it's not something that is available. It's not available it doesn't make sense to make this available as a standard HTTP request because once you subscribe, you're going to get a stream forever of events from Tendermint 2, right? So yeah, if you just go to Tendermint into Tendermint 1 repo and you look at RPC core events, you'll see that there's a subscribe function that is implemented. Again, it's not available. You can't call it from HTTP, but it is only available under WebSockets, and you'll see how it pushes events to the client continuously. So that's the non-polling solution that OnBlock is looking for. In short, we have to basically implement this subscribe function. The only difference is we want to do it without query, so it's going to be slightly different. So we'll have to think of how to filter which events we want to the OnBlock system wants to listen for. So we'll probably need something like the query system, but much simpler. Hopefully, is all we need, and we can talk about that. Sorry, I don't want to hog this call with this conversation, but let's move on because it's Tendermint 2 thing. But I'll make a note of it in the issue. Let's move on.
Okay, no, it's good. That's good. So, well, I guess in the last 5 minutes, I don't know how much we can tackle, and maybe we can table some stuff for next time because the last parts are all discussion related. So less like one was the native binding issue 859. The HAL. I don't know if you had any updates that you want to share based on last time discussion movement.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make it brief. I'm still like working out some specifics, and I'm going through the Gno.land code to understand how to best implement this, and sort of taking my time to get a deeper understanding of how everything fits together. So to try to make it more closer to the idea I have in the proposal. But yes, essentially the past few weeks I've on that front I've just kept working on trying to go from using package injector to using to being able to replace functions directly in the packages.
If anyone wants to comment, I shared the link here. So I guess I would just run through if the last ones, if you want to grab it in the last couple of minutes, but or maybe we tackle it next time. One of the it's more of a discussion, Manfred, around the contributors DAO. It's a 2. Maybe it looks like it's a placeholder, but I was curious about what.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, actually, so I made my last presentation in South Korea about proof of contribution, and when I was looking for a single place to centralize the information, I noticed that we spoke about proof of contribution everywhere, but not in a single place. So it's a placeholder issue, and the main goal right now is just to link it from other issues. And maybe later it will contain more content, but at least now you can have the reference link. So yeah, if you go to it, the important information is to look at what other issues are talking about it.
Okay, that sounds good. So now everyone, when it's relating to proof of contribution, then we link it, it's linked there.
Oh, let me check because maybe I make a mistake. No, it's okay. Yeah. It just this issue will be updated, but right now it's focused on having an official single URL and starting to link it from other issues. Yeah, I think we need to switch soon.
Okay, yeah, there's just one last one that I want to highlight because it looked like it was getting some traction. It's B1T's STLibs and std-shim 892.
In my opinion, it's a duplicate of the one from Morgan about native binding. It's basically today we have a mess. We mix GNO files, Go files. Some of them are caching, some of them are std-shim. And if you are just an external tool, Go PLS, Go import, Go whatever, it's clearly hard or impossible to just have an exhaustive list of packages you can import and use, complete, containing both the injected stdlib, the GNO-based stdlib, and the GNO-based contracts. The goal of Morgan's issue is to make just make that every single piece of code you can call, including the injected stdlib, as an equivalent GNO files. Then, if we do this well, basically the goal is to allow any tool to just consider that the exhaustive list of files that can be imported, so the imports, the functions, the methods, the structures, the constants, can be discoverable from the file system. So you can generate documentation, you can have many tools. As soon as Morgan finishes this POC, this proof of concept, we can go further, and then we can also try to remove std-shim completely. So the duplicate issue 892. And also we can try to isolate more the generated Go files, the one generated with precompile, maybe in a similar fashion than Go is caching the object files or the downloaded packages. So at the end, what we will have, you can just look at GNO files in the main repo to have the exhaustive list of stdlibs, official package, non-official packages. You can have a single place with Go files that are compatible with Go. You can go test them, you can go import them, they are working. You don't need std-shim anymore. And you have less mess in terms of organization. It's also related to another issue created by Jay about moving the file test. At the end, both the realms and packages and also the main repo will be more organized for humans and for tools. So yeah, I think the main entry point is the issue 859 from Morgan. And if B1T is not updating the issue 892 with additional information, I think it's just a duplicate. But yeah, basically, it's nothing important for people writing contracts, but for people writing tools or trying to just discover the under the hood of the project, it will be better organized and easier to discover.
Okay. I know we're at the time, so just the remaining points that we didn't get to, but maybe for next time is, it seems like the issue 835 from Antonio around the infinite loop problem has been there for a while. And then also the discussion around the auto load and package sorting, issue 763 from Hariam. And then maybe next time, Manfred, we can talk about the no SDK snapshot.
Yeah, okay.
And just putting it out there that next week we are releasing the Gno.land fund and grants program. The repo is linked there and we can share it, but that's great news.
Yeah, it will be a grant program for organizations, individuals, and we are looking to create partnerships with some schools, so we can also have students.
Yep. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you again in 2 weeks for the public call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Oh,
Bye.
one thing.
Bye.
Thank you.